So this one is going to get me in trouble. I can hear the eyebrows raising and the smirks smirking from all the sync people out there who hear this, who see this title on this YouTube video. Hmmf, they'll say. But today I am going to share my unpopular but steadfast opinion that you can make the music you love to make and make music income with sync licensing. And folks, I have made some music income today. We're going to talk about it, but let's just say that my business checking account is a couple grand more than it was yesterday. But we'll talk about that in a minute and more tomorrow about this. But yes, you can write a song in your hot tub that you love and make it the way you want to. And then you can get it into a sync library and it could get used on a major TV show at the top of a show. Let's just say that happened to me. It actually did. And it can make you and the partners that are partners in the song, if there are partners, it can make you all money. And I've seen it happen. It's happened to me. I've seen it happen to other people. This is a thing. I didn't write it for a brief. I didn't write it because a library told me to. I wrote what I wanted to write. We're going to talk about this. It's a thing. I'm going to prove it. In this video, I'm going to give you a lot of reasons why I think you should not only could, but should make the music you want to make instead of only writing for the brief. Believe me, I have my reasons. I will state for the record that writing for a brief or two briefs has advantages, and sometimes it's your literal job. And we will go over those too. We'll talk about some advantages. But are they advantages? We'll talk about that. So welcome to the fourth in a series I call 5 Outrageous Claims About Sync Licensing, all leading up to our special webinar tomorrow. Yes, you can get into and should get into sync licensing. How do you get into sync licensing? Well, you probably need something that helps you get into sync licensing. What could it be? We'll talk about that today. So this video is called It's Not All About the Brief, about the sync brief. It's about it. It's just not all about it. And there are those of you who I know who probably write to briefs, or you've been told you have to in order to do sync licensing. I have before. I didn't like it, but there's good and bad things about it. So this video today and this whole series, I think will really give you value, and you can go back through these whole 5 videos when we get done, or at least these 4, because tomorrow's video is going to be wild and woolly. It's going to be the webinar. These videos, I hope, these last 4 videos will give you, and I'll put down in the description all the videos. I'll go back into all the videos and put the information in there. I've gone back and edited all 3 of the videos so far this week, and they're going to be I think they're going to be nice for evergreen content, so people can just get something out of each one. Email says, do I need the most expensive and best instrument libraries to get syncs? It doesn't hurt, but no, you absolutely don't. I know people who get syncs with Logic sounds. I think it depends on how well you know how to program and how well you know how to play the actual instrument. Every orchestral instrument and sound is different in these things, but if you get a violin sound and it's a very awesome violin sound, and then you just sit there and try to play chords, it'll sound terrible. That's not how violins play. They don't play 3 notes at a time. They play lines, they play notes, they touch on things. So I think the library is not as important necessarily as the way you know how to play the instruments in the library. So that's my main kind of go. If you want to see more on that, I do this kind of thing on the Hello Composers channel, and you can go over there and see that. So let's get into this claim today. This is, like I said, not going to be popular because most people are already looking at this video and they're saying, I'm not even going to watch that video because this is Eric just being Eric. He's yeah, give me a thumbs up if I'm being too Eric for you. But I want to start about why I say it's not all about the sync brief. It's not a popular opinion. And what's funny is when we were in our group, when we were in our last class cohort, and we were in the group, Lori, as a matter of fact, said, this lovely lady right down here, she said, one thing I really loved about this is that you stress that we can make the music we love and not just have to be forced to write. Like earlier, what somebody said about what Janitas said about, do I have to write music for sync? And I think that's the wrong approach. And to be honest, from everything I've heard from people in the business, they think it's the wrong approach. They don't want you trying to write quote unquote sync music. They want you to write good pop music, good orchestral music, good tension music, they're looking for great songs. They're not looking for some kind of formula that works. Now, there are some formulas that work, in trailers and things like that. But one thing we're going to talk about today is how you can kind of be original and why you should be original. That's one of the first things we're going to talk about. But the opinion is from all of the talking heads, the gurus of our field, is that you have to follow the brief. Just follow the blankety blank brief. Please pardon my language. I will get to the reasons why they say this in a bit, and they're not necessarily completely wrong. They're just mostly wrong. Again, this is very personal to me, actually. There are some compelling reasons why I do not like this kind of writing or this kind of focus. And that's because for me, doing music and composing, I've been someone, and maybe you have too, who's been forced into working, not forced, I was never forced into it. I was very much put in a corner because my job was to work for producing artists. And so whatever the artist wanted to do, that's what my job was. My job was to create music for the client. And I have done that for 20-something years. And I have been happy to do it because, hey, it brought a life of musical and religious fulfillment. But the problem is, for me, I do not want to write on demand as much as I've had to in the past. I want to write what occurs to me. And many people ask me, can I just write whatever I want and work in sync? And I am here in living proof with the BMI check this month to prove it that you can. I got my first four-figure checks from BMI today in my bank account. And none of that came from writing to a brief, not one bit. Now, I don't know exactly what the numbers are and why. I have a feeling there's something non-exclusive involved because I got a lot of money in my publishing account. So that means that I got money in my writing and my publishing account. And so I think something has happened with something non-exclusive. I'll find out tomorrow when I can see the statement, because what happens with BMI is they will put the money in your bank account a day or two before they make the statements available, which is maddening. But it's either good or bad. Either you don't get that much and you're like, why didn't I get that much? And then you got to wait to find out the next day, or you get more than you thought. And I sat for about 20 minutes to 30 minutes this morning trying to make sure I wasn't dreaming, because before this whole week I've been like, oh, I just hope that it's similar to whenever you have a decent check, and last time was decent, it was in the three figures, and I was like, that's nice, I hope it's at least that much again. But you think, man, if it would only be in the four figures. And guess what? It was in the four figures. But for me, I want to write what I want to write. I'm at that point in my life. I am not at a point. You may be younger, hungrier, edge on the edge and ready to do whatever it takes in this business. And those people are usually writing to brief. But I think personally that strictly adhering to the brief just stifles creativity for me. And so I don't even, some people would say, well, why don't you, if you want to be original, why don't you do the brief, but be original and add your own originality to it? And I would tell you that, okay, I probably would do that. But the problem is when you do that too much, you can get outside of what they want, if they know exactly what they want, which sometimes I don't feel like that the people who make these briefs are entirely sure what they want until they hear it. They put 2 or 3 different references on there that aren't even the same. And you're just sitting there trying to write something that's kind of like those things. And I got my first taste of this really when I was back years ago when I was in taxi. And I know several of you watching and have probably been in taxi before and followed their briefs, and then had the agony of debrief feet when they send you back saying this doesn't fit the brief. And it's maddening. It's hard. It's no fun. But I just don't write for briefs. I will send something in for briefs, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But they're here. The main problem I have with briefs, and the reason why I suggest people don't do them, is because I feel like briefs are more like ifs, especially the briefs that you can see. Like the free briefs that I got yesterday from TuneEdge, or I get from Music Supervisor, or I get from some of these places where you see the same brief on everybody's list. And that means it's not only going out to the 1,000 people that Music Supervisor sent it to, it's going out to the thousands of people that are free TuneEdge customers and got on their email list, and it's free going all over the place. But so to me, that means these briefs are sent out to so many people. The odds that you will get the gig are so low, and wasting time making music that you don't want to make for a very low possibility of getting the gig seems fruitless to me, and it makes me call briefs ifs. If you take out the B and the R and the E, we have ifs. I've said this before, briefs are just ifs. Now, the only way that I would do briefs, the only reason why I would submit to a brief is because I already have something done that fits the brief. In other words, it's done, it's ready, it's recorded, it's in my catalog already. I have made songs like this to have in my catalog just for somebody who wanted a disco song, or somebody who wanted a country song, or somebody who wanted a jazz a female vocal jazz ballad type of songs. When I see something like that I already have something for, that's why I continue to look at briefs. Because if I see something that I already have something produced for, then I will submit that. I'm happy to do that. It's free for the most part. I don't currently do anything that I have to pay to send to briefs, like Taxi or anything like that. And you can see my thoughts on Taxi on many of my Taxi videos. I don't have to go back over that. I don't think briefs on Taxi are any more helpful to my career than I do briefs from TuneEdge or Music Supervisor or any place else that you might find a brief. Put in the chat if you're watching where you see briefs. Do you get them? Do they come in emails? Where do you find them? Do your libraries send them to you? Where do you see them? I see them. Sometimes I'll have libraries send out briefs. I had it happen last Christmas. I've had it happen with my BMG library where they want a certain kind of song. To me, that's a little bit different. That's a little bit more, I have a better chance of getting that because it's going out to a smaller audience. And if it's something I want to do, I will do that for my libraries because I know that they have a vested interest and they're going to be pushing it out. It's not me versus thousands of people who see the same brief. So the only reason I would submit to a brief is either I already have the song ready and it's a no-brainer. I just upload it and say, here you go. And it takes me 2 seconds. Or it's my library that I'm already in asking for a certain type of thing. And then that's also kind of a no-brainer to me. That to me, that's kind of a reason why I will do briefs. So those are that's my first salvo in this. Now, many people watching this say, yes, it is. You got to do briefs. If you don't do the briefs, you're not writing the music that is needed, and you're just wasting your time. You're wasting your time, and you're wasting the time of the people who are looking for music. And this may be true for one thing, for like for briefs that you are trying to get into that you don't even know the library, you don't know the company, and all that kind of stuff. And most people that I know who do make good money are working on briefs every day. But not all those briefs are briefs that are going out to thousands. A lot of those briefs are coming from their libraries, which are not going out to thousands, but going out to dozens, maybe, of writers. Or they're coming to you directly. Like I've had my library owners come to me directly and say, I need this from you. Writing to that brief is different because that's almost a sure thing that it's going to get in there. So anyway, let's move on to some of the things that could happen if you don't write only for the brief and you see the brief. Got too many things on here. So you see the brief and you think, you know what? I can write like that. And sometimes since I am been a producer for a long time, I have a versatility in now everybody thinks they have versatility. And I just saw a extreme music president last night talking about we don't want to get your demo that has a dozen different things on it, the different styles and all that. They want to hear what you've done. But to be honest, I've gotten several of my deals with libraries that way. So there's different things that are going to happen to different people. Everybody's going to have different experiences. Everybody's going to have a different kind of way that things happen to them. And so one of the things that I want to bring to whoever I'm pitching to is the fact that I am versatile. And that's why I think if you wanted to show this, you could also just reply to lots of different pitches with really good sounding quality songs that go with each of those briefs. But I think submitting a track that deviates from the brief can highlight your range. It can highlight your signature sound that you have. Maybe you have a unique way of doing the brief that they want. And so I think that you got to be careful that you're not just trying to redo the reference. And a lot of people will say, yes, you've got to redo the reference because that's what they want. They want something that close. I've not found that to be true. Obviously, a lot of people in taxi have not found that to be true because I've received hundreds and hundreds of comments from people on videos that I've done talking about the fact that they copied references and were always told it wasn't what they were looking for. So, and there's also this other thing that kind of goes along for me, which is a lot of people have problems with briefs, and I do too, that they feel like their artistic integrity is being challenged. Now, a lot of people will say, you know what? Don't get so precious with your artistic integrity because it's all about making money. And you know what, Jesse will tell you this, Dave Croft will tell you this, Clint will tell you this. For them, it's about making money. It's literally about that they want to make money. And they will do stuff outside of their artistic loves in order to get the brief, in order to get the sync. And by the way, just because you fit the brief doesn't mean you're going to get a sync. It could be something that never even hits the thing. That's another reason why syncs are ifs, briefs are ifs. But unapologetically, the Jessies of the world, the Daves and Clint will say, yes, I do the music that the people want because I want to get paid. I want to make money on this deal. I want to make music so I can make income. That's not me. Maybe it's you. It's not me. And maybe it's not you either. And if it's not you, guess what? That's okay. We can be okay and not, not do music to make money. And now I know that sounds funny from a site called Make Music Income. And yes, I want to make income from my music. I'm happy. I'm overjoyed. I'm still thinking I'm dreaming about today's BMI check. And if I wake up, I'm going to be so mad. But I have been waiting for a large check, a 4-figure check, and I got 2 4-figure checks today from BMI deposited in my account. And I can guarantee you that anything I see on there was not because I wrote something for a client. Maybe I can't guarantee that. I'll have to look tomorrow. We'll see tomorrow if I can guarantee that. But I think that you have to. One thing that I found in my career that always serves me well is not just to have artistic integrity to do things the way I want to, but sometimes to bring in a unexpected sound that nobody expected. In other words, I bring in a sound and an arrangement style and a quality that no one expected. People do not expect quality. People are always surprised at quality. One of the things that served my production career very well was the fact that I worked in Nashville with the best of the best session musicians and all that. And it just came out great. It sounded like records, like on the radio. And when people would take that back to their communities or to their fans or whatever, the people would like do a double take and say, "This is you," because of the unexpected quality. Is really what I should put here instead of unexpected sound, unexpected quality. But even last night when I was listening to Jesse and then later on Crow Hill, the guy from Crow Hill and Spitfire, they were both talking to the Extreme Music head of that particular library. And he was talking about sometimes they just get the things that they really love are the things that come in that are unexpected, not things that sound like everything else, but things that are very unique. And they're really looking for that. And I think if you just only wrote to the Coldplay song that they were wanting and you didn't do anything unexpected or anything unusual, then you might not really have long-term success and get the gig where if they just get a bunch of Coldplay copies, they're going to be trying to go through those and figure out which one is close and are they going to be close enough and all that kind of stuff. But I think having that unexpected sound, that unexpected quality that's just you, that you bring because of who you are, is a reason why a music supervisor might go, "Oh, what is this? This is unique and different and better." And you could end up with opportunities that you didn't even know that you could get because you did not follow the brief. So yes, following the brief is the safest and most direct route to play the game, but you're playing a game that is with 1,000 and maybe hundreds and thousands of other people who are playing the same thing. And not only that, but we get into the taxi situation where a guy is sitting listening or gal is sitting listening to a bunch of songs and they're listening to song after song after song. And I know when I do this, my ears get dead. And if it's a brief that is generic and everybody is sending songs in, can you imagine being the person who has to sit there and listen through all those songs, hoping that they hear something unique, something artistic, something unexpectedly awesome, and if they hear something that's close, they might pass on it. How many of you who've been in taxi feel like you've sent exactly what they want? I mean, to a T, and you get that back, and you get something back that says this doesn't fit the brief, and you're like, this is exactly like the thing that you sent me. Now, those of us who have had that happen also could be wrong. I mean, we could just be wrong. We could just be, our ears were hearing it the same, and the ears and this is the other inherent problem with taxi or any place that has someone listening for briefs. What if the company has an intern listening to briefs and they don't have a good enough ear to hear it? All they know is a kind of simplistic hearing, and they just kind of say, "Oh yeah, this fits." Or what if the library says yes to your the thing that you submitted for the brief. And then the next day they wake up and go, you know what, forget it. It's actually not. Or 6 months down the line, you're like, why didn't this library go into your library? And they go, I don't think this really fits. And I've had that happen, and it can happen. So this is why briefs continue to be a thorn in my side. They continue to chafe me, briefs do. And so that's why I don't like them. But you know what I do like? I like free stuff. And don't you like free stuff? Let's jump back into free. A few more comments here. Jonathan Carlos says that he met KBL at a Taxi Road rally. And Laura says, some call it selling out when you don't write the songs you like. Yeah, some do. JMO says, is it because writing to a brief is selling out? I don't think so. I mean, writing to a brief is just doing a job. You're just doing your job. But I have found that making music into a job ruins music for me. And it gets, I'm to a point now where I can no longer, and I still do help a lot of clients produce their music, but I have to be part of the writing process. I have to have a stake in the game. I can't just write what they want. And so for me, that's the issue with all of that. All right, I want to give my last thoughts here on this, and I want to talk about a few reasons for briefs. And so I'm giving equal time. I'm trying to give equal time to briefs. So let's talk about the reasons for briefs. And I had to research a little bit today for this, but following the brief in licensing is crucial because it ensures that this is from ChatGPT. This is Chad Jippett, and I had a talk about this morning. And I said, Chad, I know the reasons that I think I shouldn't follow briefs. So tell me what you think the reasons for. And what's funny is he had a lot more reasons against than for. But let's go with the for. Obviously, the reason that you would send to a brief is the fact that you would be giving the people who say they want something exactly what they want. And the brief, if you don't know what a brief is and you're just watching this, let me just explain what a brief is. It's an email that you'll see a posting somewhere on a website that says what mood, style, tempo, and sometimes even specific lyrical content that the project needs for this particular song. They're often trying to replace a song by Jefferson Starship or the Rolling Stones or Celine Dion or something, and they're trying to get that same mood. Or oftentimes it's very unusual, like a certain artist that has a very unique style that they're trying to find a song like. And so if you follow the brief and you send in what they want and you're serious, you can look very professional. Will it make you look more professional? Yes. But there's also, in my opinion, a bit of following the crowd a little bit. And like I said, the crowd is so big. A lot of people in here want to talk about the fact that they want to do sync, and so they want to do what everybody else is doing. And I have not found that this is the best way to do things. Now, maybe if you're in hip hop or certain genres that are kind of ubiquitous and they sound a certain way, but I have found that playing to my strengths and pushing stuff out that they again, this doesn't mean sending something to a brief that the brief didn't want. I never do that, and you shouldn't either. But following this whole briefs crowd is a sure way to feel. I mean, look at Laura, who has been with Taxi for many years and has had nothing in return. And again, this isn't Taxi's fault necessarily, but this brief focus can be very depressing. It can be very debilitating, and it can be very it can make you not want to do this anymore. And then you'd be like JMO going, well, when do I quit? Because how long do I just beat my head against a wall before I make it? Well, you know what? I've been beating my head against a wall since I was 18 years old, going to Nashville and showing and playing a cassette for a dude in his office who didn't want to really give me the time of day, but did. So if you want to quit, then I guess you'll quit. I wanted a publishing deal. That was the goal of my life. I now have like 10 or 20, if you count non-exclusive libraries, publishing deals that my songs are there and they push it out to people, and they might get 50 to 65% of the money that song makes. But that's because they're the ones pushing it out. That's what publishers do. They get your song out there and they do the work. So I always wanted a publishing deal, and guess what? I've got them, but only because I kept wanting it and kept working at it and kept getting better. And through 76, 86, 96, when I was married, when I was just married, when I was working for people, when I was working in studios for clients over the last 20 years, I kept working it instead of just giving up. And so now, one of the next things that the reasons for is that you have an increased success rate if you are matching the brief and doing briefs. Maximizes your chances of landing a deal and getting your music featured. I almost said forwarded. We don't like people who have been in taxi too long. The word forwarded starts to have a kind of a negative connotation and a little bit of you get a little bit salty when you hear that word. You're just like, ah. So yeah, thank you, Laura, for that. Yeah, everybody give the chat a thumbs up so a little bit more people come in, because I'm going to give my final thoughts in a minute, and you're going to want to hear those. But is it really an increased success rate when you are competing against a lot of people? I guess it depends on how unique the brief is to you. Like I said earlier, if it's something that that you are given by your library and they're only giving it to you and a few other people, then I guess you have a better success rate. But I don't even like writing and trying to compete with 25 people that are in the library, or 50 people, or 100 people, however many people are in the library that I'm working with. I don't like that competition writing factor. I feel like I'm writing for taxi when I do that. I feel like I'm writing to get something that, even with taxi, with getting forwarded, and I'm sorry there's so much taxi in this today, because I've said all I need to say about taxi in my videos, but even with getting something forwarded, there is usually no word after that, unless the library. Now, we had somebody in here, KBL, who obviously has gotten some success with taxi and had some people call him back, and I know people who have had people call them back. Some of those callbacks are not what they wanted. They did not want to work with the company that called them because they were a little janky. Not all of them are. Some of them are libraries, but some of them are non-exclusive libraries that's not what they were hoping for and looking for. But I just feel like I'm not sure this is the increased success rate because I followed a brief that 1,000 other people or 100 other people are trying to get is really how I want to spend my time. It feels a little like I'm trying to do a job. Now, let's approach KBL's earlier comment that the second best case for briefs, other than actual getting the brief, is the fact that you write something you can add to your catalog. And this is true. And even stuff I wrote for Taxi, I have had published into other catalogs. Nothing into sync, I don't believe, or exclusive type of sync, mostly into stock and non-exclusive libraries. And I made a few dollars off of that song that I wrote for a taxi brief. Wasn't forwarded, or was forwarded and nothing ever happened. And I ended up putting that into another library, and it did make me some money. So this is the second best case that I can think of for doing briefs. If all else fails, you're not wasting your time. You are making a song that you can have in your catalog, and you can eventually get published and get putting into another library and have money coming in from that library. If this has happened to you, if you've written to a brief and it hasn't necessarily been forwarded or been or been used or you've heard back on it, that's the other problem with briefs. You make it and you send it off to whatever company, and you really don't ever hear back. At least on Music Supervisor, they have a thing called Heard, and they'll tell you when your song was listened to. So I guess that's good. And on Taxi, you'll get a thing back that says it was forwarded or not, and if it wasn't forwarded, why or why not. And the problem with that is that can be almost as defeating because of what they say about your songs. Because what Taxi has not done very well of late, from what I understand, is given really, really helpful feedback on how to make the song better. But then again, they are going through thousands of songs a week, and they are probably trying their very best just to get through everything, much less try to help everyone. When I do music critiques, I have a whole list of categories I go through that is constructive criticism, not just this doesn't fit the brief, just was too fast, or I didn't like the sound of this, or the vocal wasn't right, or whatever. And so, like I said, that's the second best reason for briefs, is if a brief comes in and they tell you what they want, you write a song and you don't ever hear back, or they don't take it, or whatever, at least you have another song in your catalog that you can pitch to someone else or put in another library. Now, the problem with that is if you write to a very unique brief that is only needed that one time by this one company, and you have this very unique song that doesn't fit you or fit anything else in your catalog, you've either got to write a whole album or at least a bunch of songs to go with it to pitch to somebody, or you've got to find the right case. Again, it's just not my cup of tea, and so I think you can tell that. As a matter of fact, let's get to one more giveaway before I do my final thoughts. Okay, how about that? Anybody? Let me look at the what people are saying here. Thank you so much for saying that. Yeah, give us a thumbs up here. Thank you, Laura. Then send us something that sounds like blank. Me. Send them something they asked for. Them. That's not what we wanted. Forwarded. Yeah. Have you ever been forwarded, Laura? Or how many forwards have you had versus songs? I kept a count when I was doing Taxi, and I had a certain number of times I put songs in, and I counted that against the forwards, and then I counted that against how many libraries ever got back in touch with me. And the goal and the thing was no one ever got back to me from any library. I did get about 1 out of 10 forwards, I think it was. And I submitted a lot, especially the second year. I said I was going to take it seriously on YouTube, and I did, and just did not see anything from it. After spending $600, I said that was just not what I want to do. David Gilden says, if you are new to sync, how do you build relationships? Well, for me, it's been about finding libraries and meeting the people who run those libraries over the phone, on Zoom, or whatever. Another way you can do it is you can go to conferences where they're having in LA or wherever they're having syncs, and you can do that. So and you could also watch, like today. Is it today? I think there's a Sync Summit with Mark Freezer today. It's either today or tomorrow, where he is talking to somebody, and sometimes on those Zooms you can pay a $75 fee to show a song to someone. But then again, that's not much different than a brief. You're showing a song to someone that they're not even interested in, and sometimes some of those Zooms, they tell you what they want to hear. And then again, we're in the same whole brief zone of showing someone a song that they probably don't want in the first place. And so to me, sync is all about writing what I want to write, and then putting that music out in front of people and seeing if I can find someone interested in this type of album, or this type of album, this type of album. And there are tons of libraries out there that you could submit to. And if they do find a bunch of songs, like maybe 5 to 10 songs that are quality, that they think they can use, then that's great. I'm also with Crucial Music, which is extremely picky. I get about 1 out of 5 or 6, and it's very picky. But they do pitch like crazy, and so now I have heard and had conversations on email with that library. So that's you get relationships by pitching to those libraries and then talking to them. Arco says, final rule, hold your horses, Arco. We're just about to get there. Laura says, no forwards. No forwards. How long have you been with them? That'd be my question. You said kind of since 2007. Did you really mean that you've been with taxis since 2007? Like every single year and no forwards? Rob Green just gave a thumbs up. Well, thumbs up to you, Rob Green. I just want to finish up here a little bit with my last thoughts. And then I'll go back and answer a few of your thoughts. So my final thoughts on this. I'll be brief. I've been waiting to do that all day. In my opinion, and especially for me, following briefs, like I'm just working along and I'm working on stuff. I'm getting something ready for the channel. I'm doing some work for a client, or I'm doing my own music and I'm doing an arrangement that I want. I'm working on an album that I'm going to send off to a library. And all of a sudden I get this email at 2:00 in the afternoon. We're looking for this kind of song. This is a fast turnaround, 2 hours. 2 hours. And so obviously, I am not going to stop what I am doing and try to come up with a quality composition that I usually take weeks to make, or at least that takes me several days to do, and do that in 2 hours. It's almost like, as we were talking about it with Michelle Weiss-Maslin in my last interview with her, and she says, I hate briefs. She calls them interrupters, and they interrupt your day because you feel like, hey, someone is telling me exactly what they want. I've got to send them a song. Because how often do you get someone saying, do you have a song? You could make money if you've got this song. And so it's just, first of all, it's an interrupter. Second of all, I have been writing and producing for clients for 20 plus years, exactly what they want. And eventually over time, it became less and less about me co-writing. At first, I was only writing for clients, and then I started co-writing with them, and then they started writing. This is the normal progression of an artist. They think they have to be a songwriter, and most people are just not songwriters. So this is just not what I want to do. There is a reason that my tagline is make the music you love and make music income, because I so wholeheartedly believe that you've got to make the music that you love first. That's the first thing you have to do. You have to be just making something that moves you. And I know my contemporaries don't think this way because they want to make their full living in sync licensing, even though many of them have YouTube channels that make them a good living too, or supply them theirs. And mine does a little. I don't make, this is very 5% maybe of my entire income comes from this channel, even from course sales or from coaching or anything. This is more a labor of love and a reason. I wanted to tell my story. You're seeing in real time how sync is working for me through this course, and I'm going to have to update the course now because of this check that I'm getting, that I got today, and the what came in tomorrow. There's going to be lessons to be learned by that BMI statement. Why did I go from low to mid 3 figures to low to mid 4 figures from one quarter to the next quarter? Why? What happened? And so that's what I am kind of teaching you as I go here. I'm just showing you my experience. But for me, I've made the music that others want for so many years and decades that I just can't force myself to write the music that other people say they want. And many times the references are just all over the place. I really can't tell what they want. It's like when a student or someone tries to communicate what they want, but they're not very good at communicating. And you're trying to figure out what it is that they want. And you could spend your whole time trying to do what they want, but they weren't really clear in what they wanted. It just feels like an exercise in futility to me. And I have a limited time left on this earth to create the music that I want to make. And I know that the music that I want to make is the music that can be and is being used in TV and film and in advertising. It's already being used. I know that. I've had my music used for 20 years in things. And once you get into a library, well, that might be a different deal with briefs. If my library head tells me he needs Jimmy Buffett songs, I'm going to write Jimmy Buffett songs. And because I know that there's a pretty good chance that I can get those in that particular call. And especially when they offer to pay for players and things like that, which can happen. They know you can do it, and they come to you with something they know that you can give them. That's a different kind of brief to me. If I have those kind of briefs, then I am down, because that's not a brief that is just a free-floating, nebulous reference, and it's sent to thousands of people, or a taxi thing that's sent to thousands of people that they're making $300 a year on, and $5 every time somebody sends something to that. And that's their model. Good for them. They make money. That's fine. But I just think that the whole brief thing is not the way I want to live. I don't want to just be interrupted all the time to write stuff that they need in 2 hours or in 24 hours or whatever. It's not enjoyable to me. It's not the way I want to do things. And I can prove by my success that it's not the only way to do things. So that's my final thoughts on it. That's what I believe. And I don't believe it because I'm just so I'm just going to be a stick in the mud and say, this is not what I want to do because I'm artsy. And because I'm artsy and I want to make just what Eric wants to make, that I'm not going to do briefs and briefs suck. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that at my time of life and the way I like to write music, briefs is not the way I want to go about this sync business. And I haven't had to in order to have success in sync and get my songs at the very front of a big placement on a Netflix television show or on NFL on CBS or on other kinds of shows that are on Netflix and TV shows. So that's my opinion. As my wife says, that's my story and I'm sticking to it. That's what I feel about this. All right, let's see what other people are thinking here. Art says, I am totally salty with Taxi. Well, you would not be the first person that I have heard that from. Rob Green says, left Taxi years ago, gave them too much money, many forwards, no results. Same story here. Write what you love, absolutely, says Laura. And Laura, look forward to talking to you on email, and we will go forward with trying to help you get to the next place as well. So everybody, I just want to say thank you for being part of the show today and for sitting here patiently and listening to what I've had. I will edit this all up for tomorrow so that anybody watching this in the future will be able to just breeze right through the information, and hopefully I'll keep some of the conversations in that we had here because I think a lot of your comments are very telling and very helpful. Rob Green says, I don't write briefs, I wear them. TMI, Rob. TMI. Everybody, thanks for being here today. Oh, one question I did see, one comment that I wanted to address up here. It was a salty comment from David Gilden about Sync Summit. Predatory, bad vibes. You know what? I've had a talk with Mark, and he charges like everybody else. You can choose to be part of Sync Summit or not. You can be charged to be part of Music Supervisor Pro. You can be charged to be part of Taxi. You could call them all predatory because they charge costs. And for everything I say about Taxi, I can't say that they are predatory. All I can say is they are running a service, and it may or may not work for you. And so it didn't work for me. It didn't work for Rob. It's not working for Laura. It did work for KBL. And it seems like there are some people that it has worked for and some people that it hasn't. We all decided to take the risk and spend the money just like we do when we go to a restaurant and we order the food and we get it and it's bump, 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 bump. That's not exactly what I was hoping for. So we all have to deal with these things. But I think Sync Summit is good. All his information is free. You can't go wrong if you're not paying them. He gives you tons of free information Don't pay. Don't pay. Just watch and absorb. You want to know how to make more connections. Watch free information that people are giving you, like this. And like Taxi also gives you lots of free information. Watch that. Watch Sync Summit. Watch Jesse. Watch Dave. Watch Clint. They're all giving you free information and helping you network, find your way through this sync thing. So thanks, everybody. We will see you tomorrow. I hope you have a great day. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.